Hi there, welcome to another video in this series that I call Morning Coffee with Alan. It's been a minute since I've recorded one of these videos, but I had some comments on one of my videos entitled How to Reimprint or Flip. This is a video that I did on FasterEFT. FasterEFT is an offshoot of EFT, I guess you could say, that was made popular by Robert Gene Smith, whom I worked with and studied with for over a decade. And re-imprinting is really just the sort of the art of, well, let me put it this way. When you understand how your experience is being created, that is, how is our experience being created? Well, our experience is a thought felt experience. So, if you think about something that pleases you, you're going to have good feelings. If you think about something that is traumatic or painful or scary or any of those things, you're going to have corresponding feelings. And so oftentimes, because we forget that, that is just how it works 100% of the time. When we forget that and we have a highly emotional experience, such as this person who says they have 5 traumas that took place at different times. And so what is trauma? So in this case, there's 2 separate things, right? There's the traumatic experience. So there's the event that happens in real time. And then there's the memory, or it's the replaying of that experience in our mind over and over and over again. So just as I can think of a pleasant scenery and feel pleasant feelings, I can think of a not so pleasant experience and have not so pleasant feelings. And so that's what she's referring to as trauma. So what we're saying, to be clear, is that we're not saying, I should say, that the trauma didn't happen. What we are saying is it's not happening in the moment. What is happening is we're replaying it over and over again. Now, because we don't understand that it's a thought, we sort of hand over our power to that experience of thinking it and feeling it. And because we are resisting and we're giving meaning to that thought and feeling, we're sort of feeding more power into it, right? So this is why tapping can be such a powerful tool, because when we are caught up in that sort of loop of giving our attention and feeling it and giving more attention and feeling it and saying, I don't want this, I don't want this, but in so doing, we're giving more attention to it and feeling it. What we can do is begin to interrupt that cycle with the tools of tapping. Now, I use tapping different than traditional EFT, more similar to how Robert uses it. But one of the things that I'll offer this person, Janet Rowe, if you're listening, these are your questions. Specifically, she was saying, I'm trying to re-imprint, but it's not working. So re-imprinting is basically, this is a term that Robert used. Re-imprinting is not necessarily a technique. It's what you do once you break free from, in this case, a traumatic memory. So you've got this negative picture, right? You've got this negative experience, this memory of an experience that you're replaying and focusing on and experiencing again and again and again. Now, what you can do is begin to use the tapping to sort of break up the neurological, it's just the neural. If you think of a thought as neurons firing together, right? And think of tapping as a way to sort of disrupt that process, disrupt the, sort of confuse the wiring a little bit. It's like, I used to say it's like scratching a record, or, just putting a wrench in the machinery, right? You're just disrupting the process. That's all you're doing. It's a very simple thing. Now, when it's a very highly traumatic memory, one of the things that I'll offer you, Janet, is to just take note of how you feel as you're giving that memory attention and you're feeling those feelings. Pause for a moment and just notice what you're feeling. Right? Is it fear? Is it a deep fear? Is it anger? Is it shame? Is it deep shame? Is it guilt? Like really pause for a moment and just put a name to that feeling. Just notice what you're feeling as you put your attention on that memory. And what I like to do is really just tap from that place. And so the first thing we can do is instead of resisting what you're experiencing is begin to accept it. Begin to accept that you're having this experience because you are putting your attention and focus onto this memory and sort of reliving it again and again. Rather than resisting it, begin to accept it. Begin to accept that you are having this experience. And so one of the ways I like to do that is just to put a label on it. And so maybe it's deep shame. So you might pause and say, yes, I'm feeling very, very shameful. I'm feeling deep shame right now. And so what you can do is in that moment, label it, acknowledge it, stop resisting it, accept that you're feeling that shame, and then do a round of tapping and just admit to yourself that I'm feeling deep shame. Right? I'm feeling deep, deep shame. I'm feeling really shameful. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. Feeling this shame. Good. You take a deep breath. Blow it all out. For the uninitiated into Robert's style of tapping, I'm just using 5 points. And if you aren't familiar with tapping in general, this is really just a technique that's been around for quite a while now. I've been using it for, nearly 15 years. But it's a very simple technique that just utilizes acupressure points. And there's some versions that are more complicated than others, and some versions that take a different approach. But I just simply tap on 5 points between the eye, side of the eye, under the eye, call it the collarbone, just kind of in this general area here. And then the wrist, gentle squeeze. And the reason for the wrist is there's many points that run up and down the arm from the hand. And so this is a shortcut. And then, of course, breathing is always important. When we're in that stress response, we're usually not breathing, right? We're usually holding our breath or breathing very shallow. And so taking that deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth sends a signal to the amygdala and the nervous system to relax, as does the tapping. So again, you are not resisting the experience that you're having as you give your attention to those memories, to the traumatic memories. You're taking note of how it's making you feel as you observe that traumatic memory. You label it, you call it out, you admit to yourself and accept that you're feeling it, and you just do some tapping. So again, if it was deep sadness, you would just say, oh, this sadness, or maybe despair. This despair, so sad, despair. And so what you're doing is you're not making it stronger. You're not welcoming in more despair. It's a powerful process of beginning to not resist, because what you resist persists, you see? As long as you are continuing to give the same amount of attention to this traumatic memory, you're going to keep getting more of that feeling. And in fact, you're going to reinforce it innocently. And so again, pausing, admitting what you're feeling, labeling that, and then scrambling that process with the tapping and taking a deep breath and relaxing, calming the nervous system. Check back. Do try this and check back and notice, does that traumatic memory still have the same bite? Right? Is it more intense, less intense, the same? Where is it? Just notice. And if you give this a go, and if you notice that it's lessened, great. Now check back. Notice what's changed, notice what's still there, notice if it still bothers you, and if so, is it the same feeling or a different feeling, right? So maybe if it was deep sadness before, maybe it's guilt now. And so, but just notice it. And again, rather than resist it, accept it, notice it, and then call it out as you tap. And this will begin to, again, calm your nervous system and help you relax. Now, on the subject of re-imprinting, imagine trying to take a nice positive memory and put it over the top of that strong negative memory when you think it's, when you don't understand what it truly is. You're just going to get frustrated, right? And so now, as you begin to create that space and you begin to see that you were just up against thought, right? The only thing that was creating that feeling in you was your preoccupation with that thought. Once you see that, it just makes sense to play with the theater of your mind. When you understand that that thought is just thought, and you can manipulate it just by doing something like this, well, then it makes sense. Why would you not just want to rewrite it and put a new sort of spin on that memory, right? And don't get too, I know there'll be, I could hear the questions, there's so many questions about, well, am I just lying to myself? And, I can't figure out how to put the perfect memory in place. And you don't need to do any of that. Look, the only thing you're really looking to do is to free yourself from the incessant looping, right? And preoccupation with really just bad feeling thoughts, in this case with Janet, a trauma. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that was helpful. If you enjoy these videos, or if you have any questions, please write your questions in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. Any comments, any likes, all of that good stuff really encourages me to continue making these. I hope they're useful. And the only way I really know if they're useful is by you subscribing, liking, and commenting. So always appreciate that. And I should say, one of the reasons I'm even making this video is because, Janet, you had that question and those comments on my video. So thank you very much. And I'm so happy to be able to make this for you and for everyone else, because other people have these questions too. I know they do. And I also just want to say that, I was out and about at a party, actually, at a big celebration, and someone came up to me and they said, your videos really help. They really, that tapping thing works, and your videos really help me. And that was moving to me. And that's, again, I think one of the reasons that that I'm here making another video for you. It's been a long time that I've been doing this kind of thing. And what really keeps me going is when I know that it helps people. So I hope it helps you. This is Alan Comby's Morning Coffee with Alan. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.